Have you ever noticed how people only start caring when you stop giving them attention? Think about it. When you text someone too much, when you always show up, when you always make yourself available, do they value it? No. They get bored. They take you for granted. They assume you'll always be there, waiting. But the very moment you pull back, suddenly they wonder where you went. Suddenly your silence becomes louder than all your words. We are told all our lives, be nice, be available, be giving, always show love. But look at your own experiences. Hasn't the opposite always been true? The more you gave, the less they valued you. The less you cared, the more they chased. Why? Because attention is the rarest currency on earth, and people only value what is rare. Here is the truth most people don't want to admit. Indifference is more powerful than kindness. Silence creates more desire than words, and ignoring someone just once can make them obsess over you more than months of trying to please them. Stay with me until the end of this video, because once you understand this dark law of human desire, you'll see relationships, friendships, even power dynamics at work in a completely different way. You'll see why ignoring someone can make you unforgettable. Think about this carefully. Every time you made yourself too available, what happened? You replied instantly to their texts. You cleared your schedule for them. You gave them attention whenever they wanted it. And what did they do? They pulled away. They got colder. They treated you like an option, not a priority. Here's why. People don't value what they can get too easily. Imagine walking into a store where diamonds are lying on the floor, free for anyone to take. How long would they still feel like diamonds? Not long. They'd feel like pebbles. That's what happens when you flood someone with your presence, your time, your energy. You lower your own value without even realizing it. And yet, society tells us the opposite. Give more, love harder, be available, but real life punishes this advice. The truth is simple. The more available you are, the less attractive you become. The more you pull away, the more their mind starts to wonder about you. Where did you go? Why aren't you answering? What are you doing? Suddenly your silence has weight. Here's the micro trap most people fall into. They believe giving more will create closeness. In reality, it creates boredom. Distance creates desire. Silence creates imagination. And imagination is always stronger than reality. So ask yourself, who in your life have you been giving too much to? Who have you made feel like you'll never leave? And what would happen if, just for a moment, you stopped? There's a strange thing about human desire. The moment something is right in front of us, we stop seeing it. But the moment it disappears, it grows inside our mind like a shadow we can't control. You've felt this before. When someone keeps chasing you, it feels suffocating. But when they suddenly stop, your brain won't let it go. You start asking yourself, why did they stop caring? Did I do something wrong? Are they with someone else? This is what Carl Jung called the shadow. The hidden part of ourselves that wakes up when we are deprived of something. When someone ignores us, it forces our shadow to speak. We start obsessing, not because they are better than us, but because silence makes our mind invent stories, and those stories are always stronger than the truth. Think about someone who once pulled away from you. Maybe a friend stopped talking to you. Maybe someone you liked stopped answering your texts. Didn't your thoughts keep circling back to them, even when you didn't want to think about it? That's the power of absence. Ignoring isn't just silence. It activates the other person's imagination. And here's the dark truth. What we imagine about someone is often more powerful than who they really are. That's why ignoring once can make a person obsess for weeks. Not because you said or did something, but because you left a space their mind can't stop trying to fill. So the question is, are you using this truth, or are you still being used by it? Machiavelli, in The Prince, wrote that it is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. At first, that sounds cruel, even heartless. But what he really meant was this: human beings respect what they cannot fully have. They value what is scarce. And nothing is more scarce today than attention and silence. Think about this. If you give someone endless love, endless patience, endless attention, they do not become grateful, they become careless. But when you withhold, even a little, they start to respect it. They lean in, they wonder. That's power. Machiavelli understood something most people don't want to admit. People respond more strongly to scarcity and silence than to abundance and kindness. Let me ask you, have you ever noticed how the person who ignores you gains power over you? They don't have to raise their voice. They don't even have to insult you. By doing nothing, by withdrawing, they control your thoughts. That is Machiavellian power in its purest form. But here's the twist. This same power is in your hands. You don't need to be cruel. You don't need to manipulate. All you need to do is understand that your presence is not cheap. Every moment of attention you give has value, and if you give it without limits, you lose leverage. Machiavelli would tell you, power is not in shouting, not in chasing, not in giving everything away. Power is in silence, in withdrawal, in making yourself rare. That's when people begin to fear losing you, and once they fear losing you, they cannot stop thinking about you. Let me ask you something honest. How many times have you sent a text you instantly regretted? Not because of what you wrote, but because you knew, you felt, you gave too much. You checked your phone again and again, waiting for the reply, and every second that passed without an answer made you smaller in your own mind. That's the trap of over-attention. When you give too much, you create an imbalance. You start chasing and the other person starts running. You become predictable, and what's predictable always loses its magic. It doesn't matter if it's love, friendship, or respect. The law is the same. People crave mystery, tension, the unknown. Over-attention kills all of it. Here's the dangerous part. You think giving more will fix it. You send another text. You try harder. You explain yourself, but every word you add makes them care less. You dig yourself deeper into the hole, while their interest fades into silence. Why does this happen? Because over-attention smothers imagination. When you keep feeding someone with constant presence, they never get a chance to wonder about you. And if they're not wondering, they're not obsessing. But when you hold back, when you stop giving, they start to fill the silence with questions. And those questions are powerful. So look at your own life. Who have you been pouring too much energy into? Who have you been chasing so hard that you forgot your own worth? Because the moment you stop, the moment you create distance, you'll see the trap break and their mind begin to turn back toward you. When you ignore someone, you don't give them closure, and the human mind hates unfinished stories. Psychologists call this the Zeigarnik effect, the tendency for our brain to hold on to incomplete situations more than finished ones. That's why silence feels so heavy. It's not just the absence of words, it's an open loop that keeps spinning in their mind. Think about it. When someone yells at you, you know where you stand. When someone explains themselves, you have an answer. But when someone ignores you, you're left in the dark, and that darkness breeds obsession. You replay the last conversation. You overanalyze the last text. You wonder if they're thinking about you, or if they've already forgotten you. Their silence keeps you locked in a cage you built for yourself. Nothing frightens the human heart more than indifference. Think about it. Anger still means they care. Jealousy still means you matter. Even hatred still ties you to them. But indifference is terrifying, because it says, you no longer exist to me. You've felt this before. When someone ignored your message, your mind didn't stay calm. It spiraled. You kept checking your phone. You reread old conversations, trying to find a clue. You imagined them laughing with someone else, moving on without you. All because of silence. All because, for one moment, they acted like you didn't matter. Why does this hit so hard? Because every human being is wired to crave control. We want to feel that we matter in someone else's life, that our presence affects them. But when they ignore us, that illusion shatters. Suddenly, we're powerless. and nothing eats at the ego more than powerlessness. This is why ignoring is so powerful. It doesn't just make someone curious, it makes them fearful. They fear losing influence over you. They fear becoming irrelevant, and in that fear, obsession grows. So ask yourself this: how many people in your life are feeding on your attention right now? How many people believe they control you just because you keep giving them energy? And what would happen if, for once, you took that control back by giving them nothing? Up until now, we've been talking about ignoring as a weapon, but let me show you something even more powerful: ignoring as liberation. Most people don't realize it, but the reason they can't stop chasing is because they're trapped by fear. Fear of being alone, fear of being forgotten, fear of losing someone. That fear makes you overgive, overtext, overexplain, and overchase. And every time you do it, you make yourself smaller. You let someone else's opinion control your worth. But when you withdraw, when you decide not to answer, not to beg, not to chase, you are freeing yourself. You are proving to your own mind, I don't need their attention to exist. I am enough on my own. That is real power. Think about it. Isn't it exhausting to always be the one holding the relationship together? Isn't it painful to care 10 times more than they do? Withdrawal cuts those chains. It shifts the weight back onto them. And even more importantly, it gives you back your energy, your focus, your peace. So let me ask you, who have you been giving too much of yourself to? Who have you allowed to drain your time and self-respect? What would happen if you simply stopped? Not with anger, not with a scene, just quiet withdrawal. Because sometimes the most radical act of self-love is silence. Not for them, for you. Machiavelli understood it. Jung understood it. And deep down, so do you. Power doesn't come from forcing yourself into someone's life. It doesn't come from shouting louder, giving more, or proving your worth. Real power comes from restraint, from absence, from knowing you don't have to be everywhere all the time. Think of the people who left the deepest mark on your life. Was it the ones who were always available, always chasing, always saying yes? Or was it the ones who disappeared, the ones who pulled away, the ones who left you with questions instead of answers? Absence burns itself into memory far more deeply than presence ever can. And this is the climax of the law we've been building toward. You do not become unforgettable by being present. You become unforgettable by being rare. Scarcity is what creates value. Indifference is what creates fear. Silence is what creates obsession. Right now, there's someone in your life who has too much of you. They don't respect it because they never had to. Imagine what would happen if you stepped back. Imagine what would happen if you stepped back. Imagine the weight of your silence pressing against their mind, the questions rising, the shadow of desire you'd awaken in them. This is not cruelty. This is clarity. To ignore is not to destroy. It is to remind them and yourself that your presence is precious. And when presence is precious, it cannot be ignored. Here's something most people never realize. When you ignore someone, you don't just create silence. You create a mirror. That mirror reflects back their own insecurities, their own fears, their own hunger. Suddenly, they are not just thinking about you. They are confronting themselves. Think about the last time someone ignored you. Wasn't the first thought something like, am I not good enough? Did I do something wrong? Notice how quickly the focus turned inward. You weren't just thinking about them, you were judging yourself. Their silence forced you to see parts of yourself you didn't want to see. This is why ignoring once can haunt someone for years. It's not you they're obsessed with. It's the unfinished story, the unanswered question, the self-doubt that won't leave them alone. Ignoring makes people write their own painful story in their head, and they can't stop rereading it. When you learn how to withdraw, you're not actually controlling them. You're showing who clings, who panics, who respects, and who doesn't. Silence is the purest test of human connection. If they crumble when you step back, you've seen their truth. If they respect your distance, you've found strength in them. So the next time you feel guilty for ignoring, remember this: you're not hurting them. You're handing them a mirror. What they see in it is not your fault. It's theirs. Nietzsche once said, "The value of a man is in proportion to the number of things he loves and blesses, but above all, to the number of things he ignores." And now you see why. To ignore is not cruelty. It is mastery. It is the ability to step back, to withhold, to remind the world that your attention is rare and your presence is not free. Every act of silence is a reminder that you are not controlled by desperation, but guided by self-respect. So tonight, reflect on this. Who in your life has been draining your energy without giving you the same in return? Who have you been chasing so hard that you forgot your own worth? And what would happen if instead of giving more, you simply gave nothing? The answer may change everything, because the truth is simple. They will never forget the one who walked away first. If this video opened your eyes, make sure you like it so more people can see what you just saw. Subscribe if you're ready to keep diving into the darker, hidden side of human psychology. And don't miss the next video, because what comes next will change the way you look at life forever.